The Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 15, the finale is here. And Hunter died, Crosshair died, Wrecker died. Wait a second. Nobody died? Okay, maybe not nobody, but this finale put the end cap on what could be one of the best seasons of Star Wars television. And from start to finish, this finale was jam-packed with a whole lot of stuff, so let's break it all down. Episode 15, The Cavalry Has Arrived, opens on Mount Tantus. We see the Empire still looking for Crosshair, Hunter, and Wrecker as they are going through the forest, making their way to the base. Wrecker is still in a lot of pain, as in the last episode he tried to fight a bear, and that didn't end very well for him. Hunter says the base is still 5 clicks away and asks Wrecker if he's gonna make it, to which Wrecker responds with, "Try to stop me." There's nothing that will stop these three from saving Omega and the other clones inside of Tantus. But we cut to inside the facility where the alarms are blaring. Hemlock orders a bunch of troopers to go protect the vault, when Scorch comes to tell him that one of the insurgents has been captured. We saw this at the end of the last episode with the former Vice Admiral Rampart being captured by the Empire. Now, I thought that Rampart was going to go on some redemption arc where he might even save the Bad Batch in this episode, and boy, was I wrong. But that's just probably one of the smallest things I was wrong about in this finale, but we'll get to that. Rampart says to Hemlock, "You're surprisingly calm for somebody whose secret base has been compromised." And he says, "I can't imagine the Empire will be pleased." To which Hemlock responds with, "You haven't learned anything about clones after all these years. It was inevitable that they would eventually come for Omega, because clones don't leave each other behind." Hemlock has gone full Thanos in this moment.
I am inevitable.
Hemlock says all this for just one young clone. How is she that valuable? Now, this scene is way more important than most people know, because this is when Rampart finds his ticket out of here, and his ticket back to the Empire. If Omega is the most important thing to Palpatine, like Hemlock is telling him right now, then if Rampart secures her and saves the day, then he might be taken back with open arms to the Empire, which clearly is the only thing that he cares about. We then see Echo and Emery as they are still in the laboratory, and Echo is trying to find information on the vault and where Omega is being held. Emery says that the vault is several levels down and is heavily protected, but I can get you in. To which Echo responds with, "Why are you helping me?" Now, Emery throughout this 3rd season has gone on quite the redemption arc. In season 2, when she's introduced, she is working for the Empire, and we are led to believe that she is a villain. But it's more of a misunderstanding than that. She doesn't want to be doing these terrible things, and as soon as she found out that there was kids being experimented on inside the vault, her attitude about the Empire began to change. And now she knows that what's happening on this facility is wrong, and that's why she's going to help free Omega and the other kids. We then cut to inside of the vault where Omega and the kids are planning their escape. She has told them about her squad, Clone Force 99, and how they are here, and she tells them about the Zillo Beast. But first, they need to deal with Dr. Skolder. So Omega sneaks up behind the droid that takes their vitals and uses the tool that she stole a few episodes ago to turn it off. They bring it into one of the cells, and Omega reprograms it so that it will inject Dr. Skolder and knock her out. And now it's time to escape.
One way out!
The kids all climb in with Omega into the tunnels inside the walls. Then we cut to Emery and Echo going inside of the vault. And we hear Emery explain to Echo why Omega is so important to this facility. She is the key to what Hemlock is up to. The key to Project Necromancer. Project Necromancer has been mentioned many times throughout this season, but it is just the plan to get Palpatine to live forever by creating a Force-sensitive clone that he can put his Force essence into. The same Project Necromancer that's mentioned in The Mandalorian Season 3, and the same Project Necromancer that eventually ends up with the Palpatine that somehow returns in The Rise of Skywalker. But we see Omega and the kids finally arrive to the Zillo Beast. Omega sneaks over to the control panel to free the beast, and before the Imperials can do anything about it, the Zillo Beast is destroying the facility. Emery and Echo finally make their way into the vault where they find that the kids are gone, and Hemlock and Scorch are already in there. Emery asks what happened, to which Hemlock responds with Omega and the specimens have escaped. And in that moment, Scorch is informed that the Zillo Beast has been let loose in the containment center. Hemlock leaves, and Echo says Omega was definitely the one who freed the Zillo Beast as a distraction. And Emery says, "Well, how do you know?" And Echo says, "Because that's exactly what I would do." We cut back to the Zillo Beast, just absolutely killing everybody, killing a bunch of stormtroopers, eating them, stomping them, and it starts to make its climb out of the facility. And that's when it's safe for Omega and the kids to also make the climb out of there. We go back to the Bad Batch who are still running through the forest, and Crosshair is looking through the binoculars, and his hand starts shaking again, but that won't be a problem for too much longer. Wrecker is clearly still in a lot of pain, and Crosshair sees that, but this scene in particular is sort of the tipping point for Crosshair's redemption arc. He says there's a change of plans. Hunter and Wrecker should go to the communication array and send for help for Rex, and Crosshair says he'll infiltrate this base himself. Hunter says, no way, we're not letting you do that. And Wrecker says, yeah, we've done this many times before. To which Crosshair responds with, wake up, Wrecker. Clone Force 99 died with Tech. Now, thankfully, Tech did not come back as the clone assassin in this episode, making his death in Season 2 so much more meaningful. And Crosshair says, I've been in that facility before, and if we all go in there, we are not all making it out. So he just wants to go in alone, making the ultimate sacrifice, Plan 99. But Hunter says, no way. Omega and the other clones inside that facility need us. We're in this together until the end. As they hear the Zilla Beast roar and watch it bust open the front door as it escapes into the wild. I wonder if the Zilla Beast will play a role in any upcoming Star Wars projects, like possibly if Grand Admiral Thrawn ever comes to Mount Tantus in live action in the Mandoverse, we could see the Zilla Beast make a return in live action. But we then see Scorch go to inform Hemlock that the Zilla Beast has escaped into the woods. And Hemlock tells him to send the shuttles after the Zilla Beast, but that would leave them without air support and the Bad Batch would easily be able to infiltrate the base. But Hemlock has planned for that. This episode in particular makes Hemlock look like the biggest badass ever. He's already been the cool evil scientist dude, but he's got so many tricks up his sleeve, it's crazy. And we get to see him go back to the room where the clone assassins are being created as he wakes the next batch up. 4 new clone assassins, all better than the last. Almost the anti-Bad Batch in a way. We then see the Bad Batch coming through the newly opened door by the Zilla Beast as they are met by a bunch of stormtroopers and these 5 clone assassins. The one that's been bothering them all season and the 4 new ones. And this does not end well for our heroes. Now, many of us thought coming into this finale that somebody was going to die. Crosshair, Hunter, Wrecker, maybe all of them. And that's what made this scene in particular so damn cool. But Wrecker says, we can take them, and Crosshair says, no, we can't, as his hands are shaking. Crosshair knows what they're up against. He was in the Clone Assassin program. He knows what these 5 people are capable of. But we get to see the anti-Bad Batch in action. We get a very cool fight sequence between the Bad Batch and the anti-Bad Batch, or the Clone Assassins. But the Bad Batch lose badly. None of them die, but Crosshair loses his right hand. The one that's been shaking this entire time, he loses it in the fight. Adding Crosshair to the list of many Star Wars characters that have lost limbs, or hands even, in the past in Star Wars. So you tell me in the comments, does that make Crosshair a Skywalker? But we then see a scene where Emery and Echo are making their way up to find Omega, and Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair's unconscious bodies get wheeled past. Emery says they're probably being taken to the detention center, and Echo says, well, we gotta focus on Omega and the kids first, and then we'll worry about them. So we then cut to the kids and Omega as they're being captured by stormtroopers, and Echo and Emery save the day. They load the kids and Emery onto a shuttle as Echo and Omega stay behind to go save the Bad Batch. Echo gives Emery the coordinates to Pabu and tells her to meet them there. And Emery also gives them her data pad so they can get through every door in the building. We then see Hemlock torturing and interrogating Hunter and the others. And he says that CT-9904 or Crosshair resisted my training before, but now he has made alterations to his methods, and all 3 of them will make fine operatives, if they survive. If not, who cares? There's plenty of clones to go around. And Hunter says, we'll survive, but you won't, foreshadowing exactly what happens later on in the episode, but his torturing continues. Hemlock is interrupted by an Imperial officer who comes in and tells him that Tarkin is calling him. Yes, the same Governor Tarkin who blew up in the Death Star in A New Hope and was very worried about what Hemlock was up to on Mount Tantus a few episodes ago. We then get to see Omega and Echo save the clones from the detainment center, but the Bad Batch are nowhere to be found, and Echo asks the other clones where they might be, and the clones know exactly where they've been taken, and they're willing to help. One last clone rebellion, one last fight. But Rampart chimes in and says, what are you guys, crazy? We gotta leave while we can. To which Echo says, clones don't leave our brothers behind. Nala Se then tells Omega that she has to go destroy all the data of her existence. Because if the Empire knows of Omega, then they're not going to stop hunting her down. And until Hemlock is killed, then Omega will never truly be freed. So Nala Se takes the datapad from Omega and goes to the laboratory. But she gets followed by Rampart. We then cut to Hemlock and Tarkin having a conversation. Tarkin says, I hear you're under attack and your Zillo Beast has been let loose. He says the Emperor is most concerned. Hemlock claims that he has it all under control, and Tarkin says, we will soon see. You can expect my arrival shortly. We then see Nala Se on her way to the laboratory as she picks up a thermal detonator, and she doesn't know that Rampart is following her, but Rampart follows her and picks up a blaster. She enters the laboratory and opens up the databanks when she's interrupted by Rampart, who wants to know what's so valuable to the Empire. He seems to think that he found his ticket back because all he cares about is getting back to the Empire, not as a prisoner. And it cuts away, obviously, and doesn't tell us everything about Project Necromancer, but we know what Project Necromancer is. Now, we might not know everything about it, but we do know, for the most part, what it is. But I explain it in full in this video right here, and we cut away to Hunter, Wrecker, and Crosshair, who are still imprisoned. Omega is looking through the vents as she sees only one guard, one clone operative, but she is wrong. As Echo and the other clones blast through the front door, they are met with all the other clone operatives, or clone assassins, and the fight begins. The floor moves around as a maze, and the clone assassins know exactly how it moves, and our clone rebels have no clue, leading to the death of many of these characters. But Omega sneaks in and starts to free her brothers, starting with Wrecker, but she gets caught by the clone assassin. As Hemlock walks in and says there's a glaring weakness with clones, and it's their loyalty to each other, as he brings out his toxic gas. Now, we saw this toxic gas in season 2 as he used it on Crosshair to knock him out, but now he's using it on these clones to knock them out. We then go back to Nala Se and Rampart. Rampart says, I see. This is my ticket back. Project Necromancer is this important to the Emperor, then I'll be back in. As he begins to transfer all the data that he needs onto a datapad. But Nala Se says, my work will never belong to the Empire. It will always be Kaminoan. And Rampart says, not any longer, as he shoots Nala Se, killing her. But in her last moments, Nala Se activates the thermal detonator and blows up the entire laboratory, destroying all data for Project Necromancer and evidence of Omega being the most important piece of the entire puzzle for the Empire. We then go back to the ongoing fight, where we see Echo take on pretty much all the clone assassins at the same time, as Scorch rushes in, as he's been doing this entire episode, to inform Hemlock of the bad news. There's been an explosion in the central lab. It's been destroyed. And Omega sees behind her that Wrecker is waking up, telling Hemlock that he has failed. All of his data is gone. And Hemlock says, well, I at least still have you, and that's all I need. And Omega says, but you're forgetting one thing. I still have them. As Wrecker wakes up and starts to attack the clone assassins, freeing Hunter and Crosshair in the process. Hemlock handcuffs himself to Omega and begins to leave, telling the clone assassins to deal with them. As the toxic gas gets turned off because Wrecker broke the system, we see Crosshair and Hunter take out the clone operative that's been bothering them for the last 10 episodes. And yes, you're right, we've been Marrocked yet again. All the crazy theories that I made and everybody else made about this clone assassin being somebody of significance, possibly Tech, possibly Commander Cody, possibly somebody else, and turns out it was just nobody, or at least nobody of significance. As Hunter and Crosshair pick up blasters, very hurt, limping around, go after Omega and Hemlock. As we see Hemlock take Omega to the top of the mountain, where the flying Dorito is going to come in and take them away. Again, the Bad Batch, being an animated show, goes crazy with these amazing shots. And this one in particular was really, really cool. Not to mention, it's raining, bringing us all the way back to the days of Kamino. And this dock with the bridge actually looks like Kamino as well. The visual symbolism here is absolutely insane. But we get to see Echo and Wrecker take down the rest of the clone assassins in a very cool action sequence with the rest of the clones, getting all of their final fight together. But we cut back to Hemlock and Omega, and as the flying Dorito comes in to land, the engines are shot down as Hunter and Crosshair come onto the bridge. And many fans didn't want it, but Scorch gets his death scene. Scorch has been around for as long as we can remember, and he dies on this bridge protecting Dr. Hemlock. Hemlock puts the blaster up to Omega's head and tells Omega that they won't risk hurting you, so they won't try to kill me. But Hemlock doesn't realize that he needs Omega too. Omega's the most important thing to securing the future of the Empire. Hunter tells Crosshair to shoot the binders, but we've seen Crosshair miss shot after shot after shot in this third season, and he does not trust his aim. But Omega takes out the tool that she's been using to escape and stabs Hemlock in the leg. As Crosshair finally hits his shot, taking out the binders, and they blast Hemlock, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 5 times, as he falls to his doom off the bridge. And our heroes all make it out alive. We've been predicting for so long now who's going to die. Is it going to be Hunter? Is it going to be Crosshair? And turns out it was none of them. And as they jump into hyperspace with the clones that they saved and Omega, immediately a Star Destroyer and 2 Venators jump out of hyperspace. This is the first Star Destroyer that we have seen in this time period. The Bad Batch has shown how the Republic has turned into the Empire, from the transition from clone trooper armor to the stormtrooper armor, to now the Venators to the Star Destroyers, as Tarkin has arrived to see the damage. He's informed that Hemlock and many other troopers have died in the attack and that various wings of this facility are destroyed. He asks if any of the research is still intact, and she says no. The databanks were completely destroyed. Tarkin says that Hemlock's failings have cost us enough and tells them to shut down the facility indefinitely and redirect all funding to Project Stardust. Now, Project Stardust is the project that creates the Death Star. We heard it mentioned in Season 2 of The Bad Batch, and we see it a lot in Rogue One. But this means that Mount Tantus is still intact. It didn't get blown up completely. And although it's being shut down by the Empire, it's possible that we could see it later on in the Mandoverse time period, as Thrawn could come in and use this facility like he does in the Legends Heir to the Empire trilogy to possibly create a Force-sensitive clone, maybe even of Luke Skywalker. But that's a crazy theory for another time. This, however, just left the door open for that possibility. We then cut to Pabu, our happy ending, so to speak. As all the clones have been freed and are now living on Pabu with the Bad Batch and Omega, Emery and Echo are looking over the children that they saved, and she says they will get to have a childhood here, one like none of us were able to experience. And Echo tells her that he is heading to Pantora to get some of the clones settled. Pantora is the home world of Senator Chuchi, who we saw earlier in this season and a lot in Season 2. Chuchi was the one who was trying to help the clones get rights in the Senate. But Echo tells Emery that the information that she has about the Empire would be very helpful to their cause. And Emery says that she has a lot to make up for, and she will do whatever she can. We then see Omega and Hunter sitting next to each other, as Omega says, with Hemlock gone and the data destroyed, then these kids are finally safe. We look over and say goodbye to Echo. Echo's going off with the other clones to Pantora, like I said before, but it's possible that they could be setting up the next animated show with Echo and Rex in some sort of clone rebellion show. Tell me in the comments if you'd want to see that, and tell me if you think it's likely to happen. And Omega asks Hunter, what about the rest of the clones? Are they going to stay here on Pabu? And Hunter says it's up to them. They're free to follow their own orders. They fought in enough battles for a lifetime. Now they get to choose what they want to be. And Omega says, well, like what? And Hunter says, whatever you want, kid, whatever you want. And we get to see the Bad Batch all together one last time. Wrecker, Crosshair, Hunter, Omega, and Batcher in one happy ending.
But wait! There's more!
Oh yeah. The epilogue. It doesn't specifically tell us how big of a time jump there is, but we flash forward at least 8 to 10 years to Omega a lot older. And she is sneaking off into the same cave that Asajj Ventress came in episode 9. She is leaving in what looks to be a mini marauder. But she is met by an old man version of Hunter saying, did you think you could just sneak off without us knowing? Omega says the rebellion needs pilots now more than ever. And Hunter's very hesitant to let her go, but Omega reassures her that you've kept me safe long enough, I have to do what I have to do. She wants to do more to help save the galaxy. Omega says that you guys have all fought long enough. This is my turn. And Omega hugs him goodbye and says, take care of Wrecker and Crosshair for me. And right before she leaves, Hunter says, Omega, if you ever need us, we'll be there. She goes into the cockpit, takes one look at Tech's goggles, and blasts off. As we roll to the credits. Where Omega's off to, we have no clue. She's not in Star Wars Rebels, she's not in the original trilogy, but she is still alive and prevalent in the Rebellion. So it's possible we could see Omega in live action at some point in the Mandoverse time period. She still technically is the key to Palpatine's plan, Project Necromancer, and it still is happening in the Mandoverse. But regardless, that's a conversation for another time. This finale was absolutely spectacular. The perfect end to the perfect season. I give it a 10 out of 10. Even though almost all of our theories and expectations were wrong, the clone assassin was nobody in particular, none of the Bad Batch actually died, that is a way better ending. All of them living out their lives as normal people on Pabu. I really couldn't think of a better ending myself. But tell me what you rank this episode out of 10 in the comments section below. And we got a quick turnaround. In only 3 days on May 4th, Tales of the Empire releases. And it's possible that Darth Vader could kill Barriss Offee for what she did all the way back in the Clone Wars. But if you want to know what I think about that, go check out this video I already did.